Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. My name is Pastor Jacob Swenson, and I have been your guide for about the last 2 months or so as we've been working our way through the Book of Concord. So far, we have covered the 3 creeds. We've covered the small catechism, the large catechism, and then in the last couple days, Martin Luther's brief exhortation to confession. Now, it's been a long time, but these have all now set us up into a position to start some cool stuff. Now, it's not to say that what we have been covering isn't cool, but rather, now we're going to hit kind of the hallmark of the Lutheran Reformation. We are going to jump back in time to 1530 as we start the Augsburg Confession, right? So, what does the Lutheran Church believe? We're going to start here with the Augsburg Confession. This is the real deal. This is awesome stuff. So, we're going to start today with the preface to the Augsburg Confession. And this is going to tell us about, how did the Augsburg Confession come about, right? It says Augsburg, so it was given at Augsburg, and confession, we're going to learn a little bit about, what does that mean? So the Augsburg Confession comes about at the request of the emperor. What's going on at this time, if you know your European history, is the Ottoman Turks, who are Muslims, are waging warfare, and they are at the gates of Europe, of Western Europe. Specifically, I think Vienna. I'm not a history scholar, so you can fact check me on that. But the emperor has noticed, obviously, that there is some conflict between the church, the Roman Catholic Church, he means, and all these other little sects, which we resent, of course, being called that because we aren't. But the emperor wants to call everybody together and say, hey, we're all Christians. Let's get our act together so we can fight these guys who are coming to besiege our land. And Lutherans say, all right, here is what we believe. The majority are things that we have in common with the Roman Church, or rather should have in common if they had not corrupted the faith. So we're going to start with 21 articles on, here are things that we have in common with the Catholic Church, or we should. And then there's some articles on, these are things that really need to be fixed. And we'll get to those after a little while. But today we're going to read through the preface. Now I'm reading from Concordia, the Lutheran-Confessions, which is available from Concordia Publishing House. Really fantastic. And again, I would suggest getting this because there's a whole lot of extra content. So by that I mean there's editor introductions and timelines and pictures and cool things like that. In particular for the Augsburg Confession, the Augsburg Confession didn't just come out of nowhere. Philip Melanchthon was the guy who was kind of the principal writer of it, but he used material that came from before. So there's the Schwabach, the Marburg, and the Torgau articles, which are our previous confessions of faith of, what do the Lutherans believe? And some of those are almost word for word then put into the Augsburg Confession. So Melanchthon was the writer, but he wasn't the only guy on this. And in fact, there are a number of occasions where he corresponded with Luther and was like, hey, is this good? Can I say this stuff? And Luther repeatedly said, yeah, that's good. This is my confession of faith. And Luther even says, in fact, I would be even more forward. So we'll find in the Augsburg Confession that it's very peaceful, I guess. Irenic is the word. And Luther says, you are too peaceful. I would throw the whole book at him. Let him have it in the Augsburg Confession. Luther, of course, at this time has been excommunicated. The Pope is not too happy about Luther, so Luther is holed up in the Coburg Castle while this is all going on. Nevertheless, Luther does say this Augsburg Confession is his confession as well. So that was kind of a long little introduction. Let's start with the preface. Follow along or go to book-of-concord.org and find it on the left-hand side there. Okay, the Augsburg Confession. Preface to Emperor Charles V. Right, this is addressed to the head of state. Interesting. Most invincible emperor, Caesar Augustus, most clement lord, your imperial majesty has summoned a meeting of the empire here at Augsburg to consider taking action against the Turk, discussing how best to stand effectively against his fury and attack by means of military force. The Turk is the most atrocious and ancient hereditary enemy of the Christian name and religion. This meeting is also to consider disagreements in our holy religion, the Christian faith, by hearing everyone's opinions and judgments in each other's presence. They are to be considered and evaluated among ourselves in mutual charity, mercy, and kindness. After the removal and correction of things that either side has understood it differently, these matters may be settled and brought back to one simple truth and Christian concord. Then we may embrace and maintain the future of one pure and true religion under one Christ, doing battle under him, living in unity and concord in the one Christian church, right? So the Lutherans aren't setting out here to create a new church, but rather the Lutherans' pious desire is to remain one holy Christian church in a visible sense. Their desire is not to separate from Rome, but to come together, A, in Christian unity, and then B, also to fight the heathen. Paragraph 5. We, the undersigned elector and princes, have been called to this gathering along with other electors, princes, and estates in obedient compliance with the imperial mandate. So the Augsburg Confession, when we get to the end, you'll see that the only people who signed the confession were landowners and maybe in American politicians. The Augsburg Confession is not signed by theologians, but by politicians. Now ask yourself, does the Augsburg Confession, is this going to sound like a political document or a religious document? Right? Very interesting. Therefore, we have promptly come to Augsburg. We do not mean to boast when we say this, but we were among the first to be here. So the Lutheran princes are saying, you called us and we came right away. We don't want to boast, but we were actually the first ones here. At the very beginning of the meeting in Augsburg, your imperial majesty made a proposal to the electors, princes, and other estates of the empire. Among other things, you asked that the several estates of the empire, on the strength of the imperial edict, should submit their explanations, opinions, and judgments in German and Latin. On the following Wednesday, we informed your imperial majesty that after due deliberation, we would present the articles of our confession in 1 week. Therefore, concerning this religious matter, we offer this confession. It is ours and our preachers. It shows from the Holy Scriptures and God's pure word what has been up to this time presented in our lands, dukedoms, dominions, and cities, and taught in our churches. In keeping with your edict, the other electors, princes, and estates of the empire may present similar writings in Latin and German, giving their opinions in this religious matter. Right, so it's my understanding that at this meeting, the Lutherans weren't the only ones to offer a confession. I think the Zwinglians were there as well, but I'm a Lutheran, so we're reading the Lutherans. We, and those princes previously mentioned, are prepared to discuss in a friendly manner all possible ways and means by which we may come together. We will do this in the presence of your imperial majesty, most clement Lord. In this way, dissensions may be put away without offensive conflict. This can be done honorably, with God's help, so that we may be brought back to agreement and concord. As your edict shows, we are all under one Christ and do battle under him. We ought to confess the one Christ and do everything according to God's truth. With the most fervent prayers, this is what we ask of God. However, regarding the rest of the electors, princes, and estates who form the other side, no progress may be made, nor any result achieved by this treatment of religious matters, as your imperial majesty has wisely determined that it should be dealt with and treated by mutual presentation of writings and calm conferring together among ourselves. We will at least leave with you a clear testimony. We are not holding back from anything that could bring about Christian concord, such as could be effected with God and a good conscience. Your imperial majesty, and the other electors and estates of the empire, and all moved by sincere love and zeal for religion, who will give an impartial hearing to this matter, please graciously offer to take notice of this and to understand this from our confession. So the Lutherans are saying, we offer this confession, but honestly, we don't think the other side is gonna be peaceful about this. And so we ask that you, most gracious emperor, and other princes who are inclined toward love of Christianity, hear our confession and see that we aren't offering something that's divisive, but we are offering a confession of the faith that has been shared by the Church for the last 1,500 years. Paragraph 15. Your imperial majesty has not once but often graciously pointed something out to the electors, princes, and estates of the empire. At the meeting of Speyer, 1526, so 4 years prior to this, according to the form of your imperial instruction and commission, this point was given and prescribed. Your imperial majesty caused it to be stated and publicly proclaimed that your majesty, in dealing with this religious matter, for certain reasons that were alleged in your majesty's name, was not willing to decide and could not determine anything, but that your majesty would diligently use your majesty's office with the Roman pontiff for the convening of a general council. The same matter was publicly set forth at greater length a year ago at the last meeting of the empire at Speyer. There your imperial majesty, through his highness Ferdinand, king of Bohemia and Hungary, our friend and clement lord, as well as through the orator and imperial commissioners, caused the following to be submitted among other things. Concerning the calling of a council, your imperial majesty had taken notice of and has pondered the resolution of A, your majesty's representative in the empire, and of B, the president and imperial councillors, and C, the legates from other estates convened at Ratisbon. Your imperial majesty also judged that it was helpful to convene a council. Your imperial majesty did not doubt that the Roman pontiff could be persuaded to hold a general council, for the matters between your imperial majesty and the Roman pontiff, the pope, were nearing agreement and Christian reconciliation. Your imperial majesty himself pointed out that he would work to secure the said chief pontiff's consent for convening a general council together with your imperial majesty to be announced as soon as possible by letters that were to be sent out. Therefore, if the outcome should be that the differences between us and the other parties in this religious matter should not be settled with friendliness and charity, then here, before your imperial majesty, we obediently offer, in addition to what we have already done, to appear and defend our cause in such a general free Christian council. So that was a lot of words. Basically, the Emperor Charles V has decided that he is unable to decide himself between the Roman party and the Augsburg party. Even though it's within his authority to suppress one or the other as the emperor, he is unable to do so. So he has offered to call a general council, that is, to call a gathering of all Christianity to come together and hear what's going on. And the Lutherans are saying, so in addition to obeying your commandment about coming here to Augsburg to offer our confession, we are more than willing and more than ready to stand before the entire church, all of Christianity, and to offer our confession of faith there as well. There has always been harmonious action and agreement among the electors, princes, and other estates to hold a council, and all the imperial meetings held during your majesty's reign. So Lutherans are saying, we aren't the only ones who would want a council. Everybody does. Even before this time, we have appealed to this great and grave matter, to the assembly of this general council, and to your imperial majesty in an appropriate manner. We still stand by the appeal, both to your imperial majesty and to a council. We have no intention to abandon our appeal with this or any other document. This would not be possible unless the matter between us and the other side is settled with friendliness and charity, resolved and brought to Christian harmony, according to the latest imperial citation. In regard to this appeal, we solemnly and publicly testify here. Right. So that's the preface of the Augsburg Confession, meaning the emperor called together all the electors and princes and landowners and dukes and such to come together at Augsburg, to talk about fighting the Turk, the Muslims, and then B, to come together on religious matters. So Lutherans saying, we have obeyed your edict, we have come here to discuss our religious differences, though we, for our part, find ourselves in conformity with the ancient church. We desire to come together in Christian harmony and unity, and we pray for the same. However, we are afraid that those who oppose us will not be peaceful about this, nor will they come together with us. Therefore, in obedience to you, we offer our confession here, and also, according to our Lord's desire, meaning our emperor's desire, we would also be willing to stand before a general council of the entire church. In fact, we earnestly desire that. Let's have a general council. Let's have all the church come together and decide who is right on these matters, the Roman pontiff or us. All right. Now, this council doesn't happen, so don't get too excited. But anyway, that's the preface. So tomorrow, we're going to start in the body of the Augsburg Confession. I'll see you then.